see what everyone seems to be talking about.
It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Thanks for being with us, and thanks to our affiliates for carrying the program, and the show team, Rich, Jeff, Matt, and everyone at EWTN. I'm Jerry Usher, on location at Mater Dei Radio, Mother of God Radio in Portland, Oregon. Debbie Georgiani is on location at The Rock Radio in Cleveland, where each of us is wrapping up a Catholic Radio pledge drive today. So, as always, Debbie, we just want to ask people to be generous in supporting EWTN and their local Catholic station.
Yes, please do. Thank you so much to AM 1260 The Rock. It's been a phenomenal spirit drive, and we're on the final hours, Jerry, final day, and it's exciting. It's so exciting. Everybody is getting into the fact that this is October 13th, the special day of the last apparition of Our Lady of Fatima. Folks are listening to the shows all day long on their radio station, and they're taking notice, and they are responding, and they're responding generously. But more importantly than that, they are saying, you know what? I'm going to pray the Rosary. I'm going to start living out the messages of Fatima. Jerry, I'm in heaven. It's a slice of heaven for me.
Yeah, well, it's a great day. We celebrate the miracle of the sun at Fatima, and that's what we're going to talk about today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And we invite your takes, your comments on what Fatima means to you. The fruits of Fatima is what we're calling this program today, and we're going to have a very special guest join us as well. So if you would like to weigh in on this topic of Fatima, the message, how you've tried to incorporate it, live it out in your life, what Mary has meant to you, Our Lady of Fatima, a devotion that you might have to her, 1-800-585-9396 gets you on the program, 800-585-9396. Blessed to have back on the program Dr. Mark Miravalle. He's a husband, a permanent deacon, a father of 8. He earned his sacred theological doctorate at the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas in Rome, and he's been teaching at my alma mater, Franciscan University of Steubenville, since 1986, and he's also the president of the international Catholic movement Vox Populi Mariae Mediatrice, which is Voice of the People for Mary Mediatrix. Mark, welcome back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you, Jerry and Debbie. It's a treat to be with you both, and blessed anniversary to both of you and to all our listeners.
Well, thanks so much. And Debbie and I both have a lot that we want to run by you, and we have phone lines that are open here at 800-585-9396. So, Mark, take us back. A lot of people have heard of Fatima. They've heard, Mary appeared, the three children, they know their names, generally speaking, and so forth. But on this date, it was the final apparition, and a lot of really extraordinary things happened. They saw Mary in a lot of different forms, and I believe St. Joseph and so forth. But there was that miracle of the sun, and Mary had said something amazing was going to happen. A lot of people didn't believe them until they actually saw it. So can you kind of give us a picture of what actually happened on this date 100 years ago?
Sure, Jerry. It is absolutely monumental from a Catholic perspective and from a historic perspective as well. So we're in the third year of World War I. Benedict XV, the Pope, in May, pleads to Our Lady as Mediatrix for grace to end this war. And I think people don't understand the full context of what World War I meant to society. I mean, it brought such a huge depression, skepticism, in even dimensions of atheism and agnosticism, because they couldn't fathom a whole world being at war through alliances. And we're in the third year of that, and the Holy Father just makes a plea to our Blessed Mother, and within 2 weeks, she starts appearing at Fatima. Now, that's May 13th. This is the sixth apparition. She comes to the Portuguese children at the tender ages of 7, 8, and 10, and tells them to come on 6 successive days on the 13th, and she promises that there will be a sign on October 13th, on the final day. And it's interesting, Jerry and Debbie, that Blessed Paul VI wrote an apostolic letter called Signum Magnum, a great sign, which is really connecting what happens today, 100 years ago, with Scripture, with Revelations 12, that the sign appearing, and Our Lady, the woman clothed with the sun, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. So it's pretty amazing when you have a pope who writes an apostolic letter on a private revelation event. So that just underscores what today means. And so then you have really three visions which happen today, Jerry and Debbie, in the one. First of all, our Blessed Mother appears, and she essentially says, "Stop offending God. He is already much offended." And then you have Our Lady appears in three contexts. The first time she appears with St. Joseph and the child Jesus, and St. Joseph and the child Jesus bless the world together. And that's a real sign of how St. Joseph is key for the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The next vision is Our Lady as the co-redemptrix. It's Our Lady of Sorrows, and she appears in that form, which is really important in terms of understanding Our Lady's role as co-redemptrix and how we are called to be co-redeemers today. Then thirdly, she appears as Our Lady of Mount Carmel holding the scapular. And Jerry and Debbie, many people see those three visions as indicating joyful mysteries, sorrowful mysteries, and glorious mysteries. Then we have the event witnessed by at least 70,000. The sun is reported to dance in the sky. It gives off colors. It comes racing to the earth. It's been raining all morning, and people actually jump prostrate and start confessing their sins publicly, which I'm sure made for an interesting walk home from the Cova that day.
Right.
That's a whole other story. But the sun then returns to its spot. Now, what really happened today, 100 years ago? Well, it's at least what we call a miracle of perception. The people perceived it. I mean, no astronomy institute reported the sun leaving its spot, but we know it's more than just something they saw, because when the sun returned to its spot in the sky, the ground was dry. So you have a visual event, but you also have something physiological, and that was just Our Lady saying, yeah, it's really me. This was the sign that would confirm the message. So remember, signs always confirm the message they're relating to. You never want to stop with a sign, and that's why it's so important on this day that we enter really the message of Fatima, which is confirmed by this great historic solar miracle.
I'm so glad you shared that with all of us, because like Jerry was sharing, we were at pledge drives, and so many of our listeners to Catholic Radio are calling up and saying, can you give us kind of the Reader's Digest version of what happened in Fatima, Portugal 100 years ago? And you just did, and I just want to thank you for that very, very much. I always like to address our guests properly. First of all, I want to say thank you for your vocation, but would it be Dr. Deacon Mark or Deacon Dr. Mark? I just want to make sure I get it correct.
Well, I'm not sure it has monumental import like today, but typically it would be Deacon Doctor.
That's what I thought.
Mark is just fine. So.
Okay. Well, we're so blessed to have you on this special day. I mean, it can't get any better than this. And I pray that all our Take Two listeners are really listening to everything you have to share with us, and the calls that are coming in. There's room for you, because this is a caller-driven show, and this is your show. So please don't sit this out and just take notes like I am. I'll take notes for you. Call in 1-800-585-9396. Jerry, I could do this show for the whole entire day and never stop.
Well, Dr. Mark Miravalle from Franciscan University is with us. And Mark, you've got to actually, before we go any further, I want to give you a chance to mention you have a new book, right, called The Three Hearts. That's kind of intriguing to me. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the new book came out today, and it is regarding church-approved apparitions of Our Lady in Brazil. It's sometimes called the Fatima of the South. And these were church-approved. These were apparitions that started in 1994 and were approved by the bishop as being of supernatural origin on May 31st of 2009. And he also gave official decree for public worship for devotion at the apparition site on January 31st of 2010. So we're clear that this is an entirely church-approved apparition. And Our Lady comes as Queen of the Rosary and of peace, and it's literally Jerry and Debbie, literally coming out of the Amazon jungle, this little place called Itapiranga. And messages are very profound. She calls it another Fatima in the messages. And up until this point, quite frankly, up until today, the messages have only been available in German and Portuguese and Italian. But over the last couple of years, we've gotten 3 Portuguese Brazilian translators, and I actually contacted the visionary and said, look, you've had thousands of individual messages. What do you think is the heart of the message Our Lady is giving to you? And so he sent to me those particular messages, and that's what's published in this book, which is just fresh out today. It's called The Three Hearts. We can get it at the3heartsbook.com or motherofallpeoples.com. So it's kind of it's a Fatima connected message, because it's kind of, we've got the Fatima of the East, which sometimes is Akita, the apparitions of Japan, and we got, of course, the Fatimas of the West, the gold standard, the Portugal, and now we've got a Fatima of the South, and because Our Lady's the mother of all peoples, and she wants this message reaching to all people and getting us to respond and to convert.
Well, Mark, speaking on that, I mean, it's been 100 years since she appeared. In your studies and your estimation, and just kind of understanding the whole concept of the messages of Our Lady of Fatima, are we adhering to her messages? We all kind of live in our own little world. I mean, what is the greater world doing? Are we actually practicing what she's saying? Are we living what she's saying? Have we stopped defending God? I mean, I think I turn on the news, I would say no to that, but can you give us kind of a pulse of what's happening worldwide with her messages?
Yeah, it's a great question, Debbie. Honestly, I'd have to say that for 2 reasons, unfortunately, the answer is no, that we're not responding to this. The first reason is, as you say, check the headlines. I mean, new levels of moral breakdown, more natural disasters, which can indeed be a way that God is trying to get our attention for those who are lost. Rumors of war, terrorism, the chaotic actions and really the horrendous actions of things like, Las Vegas shootings, and we've got fires going in California, and even, recently the Boy Scouts declare that they're going to accept, openly gay scout leaders, and of course we know about the abortion and the euthanasia and the family breakdown. So we all know the litany of the headlines. That's not responding to the gospel. So I'd say, I think indeed, unfortunately, we are not responding to Our Lady's message. And the second reason I think we have to say no to the question is because that's the only reason she comes. She comes to get us to respond. When the news calls for interviews and say, well, why so many apparitions in our era? And the answer is because we're not listening, because we're not responding to the gospel, because, you see, private revelation as its goal is just to get us back to live the fullness of the gospel. So if we're doing that, there wouldn't be the need for Our Lady to come continent to continent, country to country, and trying to get us back to the heart of the gospel. Well, what's the last thing she says in Scripture? Do whatever he tells you. Well, we're not doing it. So, unfortunately, we are not. And in these apparitions, certainly at Fatima, we have some very powerful prophetic references. Holy Father would have much to suffer, a Second World War, but also that various nations would be annihilated. And it's not clear. Many commentators think that has not yet taken place, and there's even danger of nuclear threat. Cardinal Ratzinger makes reference to this in his commentary on the Third Secret of Fatima. I mean, we could fulfill the worst of what could be predicted in terms of our misuse of nuclear weapons. So, a lot of reasons why we have to live that message, and it really starts with her title at Fatima, which is Our Lady of the Rosary, and getting back to those beads generously as individuals, as families, and things like Rosary Crusades, Rosary Congresses. It's the strongest prayer after Mass and liturgical prayer, and we have to be picking up the beads right now, perhaps like never before.
Mark Miravalle with us. We're going to take a short pause right now. When we come back, we're going to get to your calls. Father West is first in South Carolina, and we have a line or two open here, 1-800-585-9396. Any question you have about Fatima and Mary's apparitions there, any comment, how are you implementing the message and devotion to Our Lady of Fatima in your own life? 800-585-9396.
Hello, this is Bishop Robert Baker from the Diocese of Birmingham in Alabama.
I'm Peggy Normandin, but you can call me Catholic.
Hello, friends. This is Father Wade Menezes of the Fathers of Mercy. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Catherine Zeltner.
There are so many misconceptions when it comes to abortion and assisted suicide. It's really confusing, and I think for a lot of people, they don't know how to talk about these things. EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, we help to change that. We help to really untangle these web of lies. Listeners can expect to become informed and then grow more confident so they can then discuss and dialogue these issues, and together we can really impact culture in that way.
EWTN Pro-Life Weekly, Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on EWTN Radio.
Do you Roku? Roku is a small black box that allows you to instantly stream EWTN to your TV. All you need is a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Roku player. For more, visit EWTN.com/Roku.
Celebrating 100 years of Fatima with Monsignor Charles Pope.
On June 13th, 1917, Our Lady said to the children at Fatima, "The Lord Jesus wishes to establish devotion to my Immaculate Heart throughout the world. I promise salvation to whoever embraces it. These souls will be dear to God, like flowers put by me to adorn His throne." One of the most beautiful devotions that is the Rosary, and the word Rosary means flowers or roses. And what a beautiful thought that we, if you will, that the Lord Himself indicates through Our Lady, that how pleased He is with devotion to His mother's heart, and that we become like flowers put before Him. How pleased our Lord is. He is happy that we're devoted to His mother, and He asks us to stay close to her heart so that she can lead us ever more deeply to His sacred heart.
Join EWTN as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Fatima. Visit EWTN.com/Fatima.
We are so happy you're with us on this amazing day, the 100th anniversary of the last apparition of Our Lady of Fatima, October 13th. It happened in 1917, and we have Mark Miravalle on with us, and it's just been such a treat so far, and we've got the entire show, so we want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. I just want to do a quick shout out. I know we love when our clergy calls in, okay, and Father West was on the phone, and he had to drop off. He was waiting a few minutes, so we know you're busy, Father, but we'd love to have you back on the show. So call back, please, and speak with Mark Miravalle. Jerry, I'm taking notes. I already am up to 2 pages of notes, just what Mark had to say.
Well, there's a lot to take down. Plus, you write large, Debbie. I've seen you writing before.
I do.
Yeah, it'd be great to have.
I think you should get some distance education credit for that. I mean,
yes,
for 2 pages for 15 minutes. I think we're going to have to extend something your way that way.
Thank you.
Is there going to be a quiz or a final on this, Mark, at the end of the show?
Well, I'd say an oral, but we're kind of doing the oral right now. So
right,
I think
right.
It's okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, bless
Jerry, I didn't answer your question, and let me go back to the 3 hearts just very briefly. The reason the book is called The 3 Hearts is because in this apparition, both Jesus and Our Lady ask for devotion to the heart of Joseph, that they want the heart of Joseph to be honored alongside their hearts. Now, of course, the heart of Jesus is honored with latria, with adoration. The heart of Mary is honored with what we call hyperdulia, the greatest of all the saints. But after those, these messages are very strong about giving devotion to the heart of Joseph, especially for purity and chastity. And my gosh, in this pandemic of pornography, can we think of a better remedy for the many men, not exclusive, but many men that are struggling with pornography, than to give themselves, to consecrate themselves to the heart of Saint Joseph, his most chaste and pure heart. So that's why the title of the book, The 3 Hearts, because it's perhaps like never before in the history of the mystical tradition of the Church, calling for devotion to the pure and chaste heart of St. Joseph, which, of course, is a continuation of Fatima, because, as I mentioned, on this day 100 years ago, St. Joseph appeared at Fatima and blessed the world with the child Jesus, and the heart just means the deepest elements of the person. So it's a beautiful devotion, and again, that's to answer your question, that's why it's the three hearts.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I hope everybody gets your book, Mark, because you speak so well on subjects. It's so you can just absorb them and understand them in a very clear way. And I just love that gift that God has given you. And you're just a great writer. So I hope everybody gets your book, The Three Hearts. It's brand new, so please get it. Father West heard my call, my plea for you to call back. Father, I know you're so busy. You're in North Augusta, South Carolina, listening on St. Paul Radio. Thanks for calling back, Father. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome. Thank you. I'm the priest over at Our Lady of Peace Catholic Church, and we have a school there, and the religion teacher is going to organize the whole all the kids to say the rosary, and we have balloons for each of the kids and to make a large living rosary, and we're going to say the rosary for the miracle of the sun, and we will release them into the sky and make a rosary float all across the South Carolina.
I tell you, Father, that's fantastic, because you know what? I mean, God bless you. Talking about a pastoral wisdom, because the concrete dimension, even with the balloons, I mean, makes it real for the kids. Now, of course, the power are the beads and the rosary and what you're doing. But what a beautiful addition of having the visual and the action of releasing. I mean, you guys are going to do your own Revelations 12. There's going to be a great sign in the sky. It might be just over your area, but it's just a beautiful way to fix into the minds of those children. This is a day to celebrate. So kudos to you, Father. Great job with that.
Anything else, Father?
You want to say something else?
Hi, this is Father West from Our Lady of Peace. Yes.
Two priests. Okay.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Tell your name again, Father. I didn't hear your name. I'm sorry. I write everything down.
Father Renard West in North Augusta at Our Lady of Peace.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
And we're about to walk over with the school children to have a living rosary and release some balloons in honor of Our Lady for the feast day.
Yeah, Father, it's just a wonderful. I was just mentioning what a wonderful 1-2 punch. The prayers of children, which we know are special to the heart of God. We know that even from the Divine Mercy Chaplet, where he says, they're the Heavenly Father's favorite, having these kids and having the kids pray the rosary, so powerful. And then the visual and the concrete thing. They will always remember the meaning of October 13th. So again, just kudos to you and Father for the great pastoral effort of giving proper honor to this day. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Father, for calling in. We appreciate you joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 800-585-9396. We have Mark Miravalle. He is a Mariologist. I would call him a Marian expert, actually. He teaches at Franciscan University of Steubenville. His new book, The Three Hearts, is out today. Look for it. You'll find it on Amazon, I'm sure, eventually, in Catholic bookstores. They may be there already. And any place reputable and great Catholic resources are sold. It's called The Three Hearts. Mm-hmm. And it emphasizes the role of St. Joseph and devotion to his heart, as well as Jesus and Mary. 800-585-9396. Let's go to Chisholm, Minnesota. And I believe it's Nilo listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Nilo. Welcome. You're on with Mark Miravalle.
Hello. Thank you. And it's Nello, but no big deal, believe me.
All right. Thanks, Nello.
No problem. My question is, at what point were all of, what Lucia says happened for each apparition, such as the visions of hell and the promising of the miracle in October, and then the prediction of the next major war from the big light in the sky. When were these predictions made public to at least to the local priest or whomever? Did this all come after everything had taken place or after each apparition? Was it explained after each apparition what was said during that apparition? Do you know that?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, you're referring to the message of July 13th, 1917. The July 13th message is really the grandmother message of Fatima, and I'm glad your question gets us back to the messages because, again, this is not just a historic, trivia event. This is something that's continuing today in living this message of Fatima and the imperative to do so. So on July 13th of 1917, Our Lady gives the children a vision of hell, and then the remedy that God wishes to establish devotion to my Immaculate Heart. She then goes through a series of prophecies of things that would happen. And the first would be that, Russia would spread her arrows throughout the world. There will be a second world war that will be indicated by an illumination of the sky, which did happen in January of 1938 as Hitler was entering Austria and then soon after Poland. That the Holy Father would have much to suffer, that various nations would be annihilated, but that in the end, my Immaculate Heart would triumph, a period of peace would be granted to the world. And with all this, we're going to see the realization of these will be released in various time frames after that. So it's not released right after the apparition.
Hold that thought for just a second.
2000.
Forgive me, Mark. Hold that thought for just 1 second. We're coming right back.
Post your intentions on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's website. To get there, just click on the bright yellow J&D logo at take2show.com. Jerry and Debbie personally reply to every prayer intention that's posted. Others will also offer you their prayer support. When there's something important you want prayers for, post it on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's site. Visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo today.
The ongoing connection between media violence and its impact on children. Hi, I'm Teresa Tomeo, host of Catholic Connection, with another Media Minute. The Cleveland Clinic is looking at whether gun violence on the silver screen triggers gun violence in children. Dr. Kate Eshelman is a pediatric psychologist at Cleveland Clinic Children's.
It's very important for parents to be aware of what their kids are being exposed to. So knowing the games that they're playing and the movies that they're watching and being aware of what the characters in those films are doing so that parents can start the conversation.
And the study looking at a group of over 100 children between the ages of 8 and 12 who watched a PG-rated movie clip. While one group watched the clip that had gun violence edited out, the other watched one with violence. The children were then taken into a room with toys and a real gun that was unloaded. The study finding the kids who watched the gun violence more likely to handle the weapon and pull the trigger. I'm Teresa Tomeo with another Media Minute on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
EWTN, teaching the truth.
In seeking to cultivate a devotion to the Mother of God, we are simply acknowledging her as the mother of all Christians, our spiritual mother in the faith, and the preeminent Christian disciple. We want to imitate her virtues, follow her in her devotion to Christ when she said, "Be it done to me according to thy word, do whatever he tells you," and ask for her prayers and intercessions.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Thanks so much for being with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Mark Miravalle, our guest on this October 13th, this incredible feast, really, of the miracle of the Sun, the final apparition of Mary in Fatima. Mark, you have our sincere apologies for not advising you before the show that hard break was coming up there. I hated to do that, and you were right in the middle. You were on a roll helping Nello out there, so please forgive us. I make a public mea culpa on global radio here, so...
No, Jerry. Listen, I heard the music. It's a good but complicated question. So I was trying to wrap up as well. So no, I mean essentially the answer is with the secrets were not revealed immediately after by any means. In fact, the third secret of Fatima wasn't revealed until the year 2000. So the answer is no. The messages were not in their total given immediately after the apparitions, and again, that question is a study in itself of when this part of the message was revealed in what increments. But certainly in terms of the secrets, which is much of the July 13th message, that was not revealed immediately. It was revealed much later, and most recently revealed in June of 2000.
Well, that clears it up for me. Nello, I hope it clears it up for you as well. So thank you so much for the wonderful call. And thank you, Mark, for answering it so clearly for us. I took another page of notes, so thank you very much. Thanks, Nello. Have a beautiful rest of your October 13th, 100th anniversary day. Thank you so very much. Real quickly, on coming in from YouTube, Tim has a quick question, Mark, that maybe you could answer. I know you can answer it, but here you go. He read that the Fatima prayer did not contain its current ending in the original version. Is that true?
If he's referring to the "Oh My Jesus"
"Oh My
prayer,
Jesus," yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's correct. "Oh My Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fires of hell, lead all souls to heaven, especially those in most need." It just ends with the word "need," but that was revealed on July 13th, 1917.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, Tim, we hope that helps. And we're on YouTube and Facebook Live as well. So hi to everyone who's watching and having their wonderful chats. So we'll move on to Mary in South Dakota. Mary, you've been waiting so patiently. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our very special guest, Mark Miravalle. Hi, Mary.
Hi there. I just wanted to say that I am picking up my granddaughter from school today. She's 9. We are buying her very first special rosary. She's used a rosary before, but she's getting her own. And we're going to go say the rosary at our church's chapel and try to find a book on Fatima on her age level in our church library. So...
Well, that's wonderful. What a wonderful thing to do, especially on this day. What it brings up in the message is Our Lady does not reveal herself as Our Lady of Fatima. She reveals herself as Our Lady of the Rosary. And she says in her first message of May 13th, pray the Rosary every day in order to obtain peace for the world. Sometimes, Jerry and Debbie, people get the idea that the Rosary, well, it's kind of a private, pious, personal prayer. Well, look, it is certainly pious, and it will lead to holiness, which should be all of our first responsibility. But it also has the power of changing the course of human history. I mean, we know that because of the Battle of Lepanto on October 7th of 1571. And so we've got to see the Rosary as our spiritual weapon. And clearly, Our Lady of the Rosary calls us every day to be praying this Rosary, not just for our personal holiness, which is our first responsibility, but for changing the course of the world. And if I could just throw in a quick antidote, because sometimes people might think, well, this is all fine 100 years ago, but why is it relevant now? And even dating back to 1571, that's good for history. But how do I know the Rosary still matters? I just want to mention a quick event which happened 3 years ago by a Nigerian bishop, and he's gone on a world speaking tour as a result of this. His name is Bishop Oliver Dome, and he was the shepherd, the bishop of a diocese in Nigeria that was being ravaged by the terrorist organization Boko Haram. And I'm just going to paraphrase what happened, but we were both speaking at a conference in Amsterdam last year, and he said my paraphrase was accurate, so we have his word that this is legit. He went before the Blessed Sacrament, and actually he had 120,000 people in his diocese, and it went down to 40,000 because Boko Haram burnt 50 parishes and 50 church buildings and killed so many Catholics. So he went before the Blessed Sacrament. He said, Lord, I am the shepherd of this diocese, and the wolves are eating my sheep. Please give me something. Please help me. And at that moment, Jesus appeared to him in a vision and held out a sword. And when Bishop Dome reached and took the handle of the sword turned into a rosary. And 3 times our Lord said to him, Boko Haram gone. And it took the bishop about 6 weeks to tell anybody, because, it's hard as a bishop to admit that you've had this vision, but he said, I've got to do this. So he started this incredible campaign in his diocese to pray the Rosary, and I spoke to the bishop about 3 months ago. Jerry and Debbie, believe it or not, Boko Haram is 80% out of his diocese in just 3 years because of the power of the Rosary. So if the Rosary can do that against terrorist group, It can protect our marriages. It can protect our children. It can protect our country, the church, and the world. So that's why Our Lady of the Rosary calls us at Fatima so strongly to pick up these beads and to use it as a spiritual weapon.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, and Mark Miravalle joining us here. Of course, it's October 13th, and if you are a student of the Fatima apparitions, you know the significance of this day. It was on this day that there was the final apparition to the three children in Fatima, and of course, many different forms Mary took. St. Joseph appeared as well, and the miracle of the sun, and just amazing things seen by over 70,000 people. If you'd like to join us with a question, a comment, your take on Fatima, its importance in your life, please do. 1-800-585-9396. 800-585-9396. Mark, I guess, we've had you on the show before, and I think we talked about this, but any discussion of Fatima would be, I guess, somewhat incomplete if we didn't talk about Mary's request for the consecration of Russia and so forth. I mean, there's still great controversy around that, although, my understanding is it has been done, according to Mary's wishes, and that's been confirmed by Lucia, who passed away several years ago. Can you just kind of walk us through that real quick?
Surely. Well, going back to, once again, July 13th, 1917, our Blessed Mother said that she asked for the consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart and the 5 First Saturday devotion, which is something we certainly want to touch upon today as well, because it's such at the heart of the Fatima message as well. Well, on May 13th, 1981, of course, John Paul II was shot in St. Peter's Square. That was the anniversary of the first Fatima apparition. The Holy Father then read everything he could get his hands on Fatima, and he literally said, I was a Czestochowa man before this. I mean, my Madonna was Our Lady of Czestochowa. I didn't know much about Fatima. But the shooting obviously, led him to research this in a major way. And as a result, on March 25th of 1984, he, with the vast majority of the bishops of the world, consecrated the world inclusive of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Now, St. John Paul II said the consecration requested of Fatima was completed. Sister Lucia, in at least 5 interviews, including one videotaped interview, said it has been accomplished. It has been achieved. So I think if you have a position that is variant to Sister Lucia, the Fatima visionary, and St. John Paul II, the Fatima Pope, I think it's a position you kind of want to change. Because on what leg could we stand on to say, well, I know more about Fatima than Sister Lucia or Pope John Paul II? So, yes, it has been done. And I think, quite frankly, Jerry, with all the best of intentions, I think the danger can be distracting us from living the message. The consecration has been done. Again, Sister Lucia said if it had not been done in 1984, there could have been nuclear war in 1985. So she's confirmed clearly that the consecration request has been done.
Well, Mark, I'm glad you shared that, because I like how you said, it can distract us from the messages that, like you said, are so relevant and so pertinent today and powerful today. I just wanted to ask something real quickly. I know we've got Paul getting ready to come on the air with you, Mark, but I do want to touch before the end of the show, and this show moves so quickly. The 5 First Saturday devotions about Rosary, Confession, Mass, spending time with Mary and the Blessed Sacrament, and Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, that's important. The brown scapular, that's another part of the message as well. But Mark, let me ask you this question. I heard this very early this morning as I was driving to AM 1260 in Cleveland, that somebody on the radio was saying that, who had studied Fatima, has said that the reason why we're not following the messages now, today, is because it's too easy. It's too easy. We're just ignoring it because we want, for some reason, we think we're going to cure this chaotic world with some, more extensive regimen. When the Rosary is right in front of us, we can pray it at any time. We can have it with us, and we kind of overlook it because it's so easy. Can you comment about that?
Yeah, Debbie, it's a fascinating point. If our Blessed Mother said, I want you to fast, for 3 days a week to save the world, we'll say, well, that's worth it to get peace. I mean, that's not going to be fun or easy, but it's worth it. But when she says things like, consecrate the world to the Immaculate Heart, pray the Rosary, do 5 do these consecutive 5 First Saturdays, sometimes we think that it's not enough effort. But this is the foundational error behind that, Debbie, and it is the idea that we think we can do more for world peace than Our Lady. It's so much better that we follow heaven's plan for peace rather than our own design. So this is kind of this 21st century Western idea that we've got to do it by our own planning. Well, look, I hope the United Nations does some positive things, but that's not where I have my hope for world peace. My world peace hope comes from Our Lady of Fatima and the triumph of her Immaculate Heart, which is part of her promise. And that means we have to do it her way, which includes the Rosary, the 5 First Saturdays, reparation, and even personal consecration. So, yeah, I think it's a very good point, and it's time that we start doing it her way, because in a certain sense, the longer we wait, the more people will be lost. I truly believe that's the case, and that's why we have to respond with heaven's peace plan, not our own plan.
Very good. Mark Miravalle with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Paul, we're going to get to you in a second. This is really a great time for me to quickly mention that in addition to Mark's new book released today, The Three Hearts, Church-Approved Apparitions from the Amazon Jungle, I also want to mention that EWTN has a really fantastic gift in their religious catalog that you might want to consider getting. It's Our Lady of Fatima with children. It's an arched medal. So you see Our Lady of Fatima there. It's an arched medal, kind of curved at the top, semi-flat on the bottom, and it hangs on a beautiful chain. And it's got Our Lady of Fatima with the visionaries, the 3 children, sterling silver, and it depicts the apparition of Our Lady of the Rosary in 1917. It has the words Our Lady of the Rosary of Fatima inscribed along the top, and it comes with that 20-inch rhodium-plated chain with a clasp as well. It's available at EWTNRC.com, EWTNRC.com. A great way for you to forever commemorate the apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima.
I saw a picture of it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to order it, so I'm glad you shared that with all of our listeners, Jerry. Okay, Paul, you've been waiting so patiently in Tampa, Florida, listening on the EWTN app. Thanks, Paul, so much. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and our very special guest, Mark Miravalle. Hi, Paul.
Hi, it's exciting to be on. It's an exciting show. My work brings me in touch with a lot of different people, and I came in contact with a client who's from Portugal, and we started talking at some point about Fatima, and she says, my grandmother was there at the Miracle of the Sun, and she said at that time she was pregnant with my mother. And it was fascinating to be face-to-face with someone who kind of was like a second-class relic of the event, because when you think of something in 1917 and you think, wow, it's so long ago, it's almost like it didn't happen. But when you look into the eyes and you're in the same room with somebody, whose mom was there in utero, it really brings it home. And so it was a kind of a profound moment for me, and I wanted to share that with the audience.
Yeah, Paul, I agree. Those are staggering elements. I had a situation where I was speaking to a person in Europe who had seen the illumination of the skies, and things like that, which of course was Our Lady's warning that we were approaching the Second World War. Things like that really do make this alive, and that's why. And if I can connect that to this idea of why it's so important that we don't just see this as a historical event, we see it as an element now. Sister Lucia had an absolutely fascinating interview with John Hafford. John Hafford was the founder of the Blue Army, the World Apostle of Fatima. And this was an interview he had in 1999. And in the interview, Sister Lucia said that we're only in the 3rd day of the week of Fatima. And John said, well, whatever do you mean by that? And she said, well, the first day of Fatima was the period of the apparitions. The second day was the period of post-apparition but pre-consecration. She said, now we're in the 3rd day. We're in the post-consecration stage, which, again, is just one more confirmation that the consecration has been done. But she said, there are 4 more days of Fatima left. And that just underscores how much we have to be living this Fatima message, because to use the vernacular, it ain't over. This is continuing. And one way we know it's not over is because no one reads the paper and says, we must be in the era of peace. That's not happening. We're not in the era of peace. There's still great struggle. And so, once again, these historic moments, like what, Paul, what you had with this woman who was there, brings to mind that this is current, and we have to be responding with the rosary, with family rosaries, with confession, with Mass, with adoration, and with the ongoing of the 5 First Saturdays, because it's something important for ourselves, for our children, and for our grandchildren in the future. It's an absolutely relevant message.
Paul, thank you so much. We really appreciated the call and your encounter. That was a blessed encounter, and that's wonderful. So thank you for that. We've only got a few minutes left, and I want to just have our listeners hear it right from you, Mark, of exactly how we can all participate in the 5 First Saturdays, and maybe you can touch a little bit on the brown scapular as well. If you could do that in the next 3 or 4 minutes, that would be helpful, and we'll just listen away and take notes.
Absolutely. So on December 10th, 1925, Our Lady came back. And in fact, she said she would come back one more time. And she comes back to Sister Lucia now, and she reveals, she takes her heart from her chest and shows her heart, which is wounded by so many thorns. First Jesus, and then Mary confirms, asking for reparation directly to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And Mary says that she promises, with the graces necessary for salvation, all those who on 5 consecutive First Saturdays will do the following. Number 1, go to confession. Number 2, receive Holy Communion. Number 3, pray the 5 decades of the Rosary. Number 4, keep her company for 15 minutes while meditating on any of the mysteries of the Rosary, but all with the intention of making reparation to her Immaculate Heart. And why this is so important, Jerry and Debbie, is that in that same one line, Mary asked for Consecration of Russia and the 5 First Saturdays. So that's clearly something that we can do today on First Saturdays to continue this message of Fatima. So Rosary, confession, Mass, it's getting us to the heart of the Church, which is the Fatima message. I'll leave it on this note. A dear friend asked Cardinal Ratzinger why there's not an encyclical on the message of Fatima, and Cardinal Ratzinger responded, to have an encyclical on Fatima is like having an encyclical on the Gospel. So that's the message of Fatima, getting us back to the heart of the Gospel.
Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Still time to get you on. A few minutes left in our conversation with Mark Miravalle, professor at Franciscan University of Steubenville and author of actually many books, but his latest is called The 3 Hearts, subtitled Church-Approved Apparitions from the Amazon Jungle. Mark, let's just get really practical for a minute. You've already alluded to this earlier in the show, but this a devotion to Mary, praying the Rosary, following the messages of Fatima and perhaps other apparitions. It's not for the group of 5 or 6 little old ladies who go to daily Mass, and everybody kind of looks and goes, isn't that cute? They got their little group that practice the first Saturday devotions and so forth. Let's talk to the every man, the every woman here who's thinking, well, maybe they're taken away from this conversation that they ought to do more in this area. It's a little bit of a time commitment sometimes, but how important is it for just every man and woman and child to be, putting this into practice in their lives?
I would say this, Jerry, that what used to perhaps be an added devotion, I consider now a necessity. I think the attacks on family, the attacks on faith, the attacks on marriages are so extreme in our present age that we need this protection. When Our Lady gave the Rosary to St. Dominic in heart form, in essence form, she said this would be a spiritual weapon for the future. And so now, parents, I would say, for all the time we worry about our kids, let's now take a practical time, like right after dinner or right before we go to bed, and assemble a family and pray the Rosary. And parents, visualize this. Visualize a big, massive golden rosary surrounding your house. And imagine, demons and ill effects trying to reach your family, but they can't. Why? Because the Rosary is there. That Rosary is protecting your family, your kids, your marriages. So it is a commitment, but my gosh, I don't think we really have the option anymore. I think we've got to get these beads, and we've got to be praying it both for our family, for our beloved Holy Father, for support. He's, also needs our prayer so much, and for the mission of Fatima. The mission of Fatima is the triumph of the Immaculate Heart. We all want peace. There's not one of us that doesn't want peace in our families, in society, in the world, but we've got to do some cooperation. So I would say this is the time to make a commitment on this monumental day. Make a commitment that I'm going to try. Try with just one decade if you haven't prayed the Rosary before. Then add a decade every couple days. But once you get hooked on the Rosary, you won't let the beads go.
Right. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, if you were going to give a test, I would get an A because I've taken so many notes, and I went to Catholic school, and I definitely would get 100 on this. I could tell you one person that definitely lived out the Fatima message is St. Pio, Padre Pio, because everything you're saying, Mark, is exactly what he lived. Gina, we have about 1 minute in Houston, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Gina, if you're available or you're ready to go on the air, we got 1 minute, Gina. We wanted to get you on.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to thank him for Dr. Miravalle for all his information. I was at a conference in Rome he led in 1997, and on that same trip we made a pilgrimage to Fatima. It was my first trip. But as a young girl at age 8, every Sunday we went to my grandmother's. She's Italian and didn't have a single toy, but she had a little children's book about Fatima. And I think Our Lady of Fatima has kept me safe and in the faith for, I'm almost 60, and I just really appreciate him spreading this message and hope everybody really pays attention. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Well,
there you go, Mark.
Thank God.
Some kudos for you.
Yeah, it's very kind. Well, it's all the mother. It's all the mother, which always reflects the sun. It's the moon going back to the sun. That's what Mary is, and it's a joy to be part of it.
Well, as we get set to wrap things up here, Mark, we really appreciate you being with us. And I want to give out your website. I believe I have it correct, markmiravalle.com. Is that where people can find your...
Yeah. Probably easiest, Jerry, because Miravalle is a tough name to spell. Easiest probably just to go to motherofallpeoples.com.
Okay.
We've got a number of articles on Fatima. The book, The Three Hearts, is also available on motherofallpeoples.com, and as well references of Sister Lucia's Rosary meditations. So I think people will find it beneficial, God willing.
Yeah, and Gina just referenced the conference you spoke at, Mark, and I know on that note, I know you'd love to actually go out and spread devotion to Our Lady and so forth. So can people get information and bring you out to speak at conferences and missions and so forth? Or I know you're a busy guy, big family, and teaching and all that.
Yeah, surely. As God allows, I'm always happy to speak on Our Lady and the cause for the Fifth Marian Dogma, which is still very dear to my heart, which is a topic for another program, and also on Saint Joseph. He is so critically important for the Triumph of the Immaculate Heart, and again, this new devotion to the heart of Saint Joseph. He wants consecration to his heart, and the promises are extraordinary for those who consecrate their families to his most chaste heart. So I'm certainly open as God provides and allows.
Well, Mark, thank you again. We're so glad that you blessed our show today. This is, I think, a second time that you've been on the show, and I know I put you on the spot last time and said, would you come back again? But I'll do it again anyway. Will you come back again?
Listen, Debbie, since you're now a cyber student of mine through distance education, I have no choice. I mean, I would be irresponsible to not come back. So, yeah, of course, it would be my joy. And of course, I didn't mention Jerry's great three-point shot, which he had at least 30 years ago, but I mean, I should give reference to that, too. We used to play basketball together in the ancient, I think it was the 19th century, Jerry.
I think so. I think it was around.
Happy to come back.
Well, yeah, we were both at the Fatima apparition on October 13th, weren't we?
Well,
the jump shot has been retired for a number of years, but great memories. Mark, thanks so much for your time. We always enjoy it.
My pleasure. God bless you both.
All right.
Thank you.
What do we have coming up Monday, Deb? Do you have that?
We do. Yes. If you're a caregiver of your loved one and you're watching them decline, I can speak firsthand on this. We're going to talk about the decline of a loved one. And Saturday's show is a best of show. Who are you codependent on? So make sure you catch Saturday's best of and Monday with us. And until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.